In Suining, Sichuan, China, there's a replica of the Titanic, but it's an abandoned project. A video posted online shows a rusty, unfinished ship sitting quietly in a dock in Dalian County. The place looks deserted. Scaffolding and cranes surround the ship, but everything is covered in rust, and there's no one on site. This so-called replica of the Titanic was backed by an investment of 1 billion yuan from Qixing Energy Investment Group. Construction began in 2014, led by Wuchang Shipbuilding under China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation. The plan was to finish it in 2 years, but it's now been 11 years, and the ship is still incomplete. After a new video showing its rusted state went viral, the project drew public attention again. The ship was designed to be a full-scale copy of the original Titanic, 270 meters long, 28 meters wide, and nearly 32 meters high. It was supposed to include everything from banquet halls and theaters to luxury cabins, viewing decks, and swimming pools. But since construction began in May 2014, the completion date has been delayed again and again. Qixing Energy mainly invests in power generation. The group's chairman, Su Xiaojun, has been questioned in the past about the project's delayed. In 2014, the local Communist Party secretary who supported the project, Xie Dayin, was investigated for corruption. In 2015, Su denied giving bribes to Xie. The state-owned shipbuilder, China Shipbuilding Industry Corporation, which was in charge of construction, has also faced major corruption scandals. Its general manager and chairman were both removed from their positions in 2018 and 2020. The same company once transformed a Ukrainian aircraft carrier into China's first domestic carrier, the Liaoning, and later built the second, the Shandong. In 2024, someone asked the Dalian County government whether the Titanic project had been abandoned. Officials from the Dalian Dead Sea Tourist Resort said the project had stopped because the investors ran out of money. Then, on May 26, a staff member from the same tourist resort confirmed to reporters that the project is currently on hold. When asked whether it had officially been abandoned, Su Xiaojun denied it. He claimed the project was about to restart, but when asked about funding and the reason for the delay, he said he couldn't talk about it on the phone. The original Titanic sank on April 15, 1912, after hitting an iceberg in the Atlantic Ocean. It killed 15,023 people, with only 711 survivors. Since the start, people have criticized the Sichuan Titanic as a waste of money. Now that the failure has become public, the debate has reignited. Some people online commented, "This kind of invitation is pointless and unrealistic. What a waste." Others asked, "There are plenty of real cruise ships today. They spend so much money and still didn't finish. Where did all the money go?" Ironically, this project was once praised by the Chinese state media. In 2019, state news agency China News Service said the replica was beginning to take shape and described it as stunning from above. But this isn't the only unfinished project in China. In Nantong, Jiangsu, there's a massive hamburger-shaped building standing alone by the sea. It reportedly cost 100 million yuan, and now is just sitting there, completely abandoned.
在南通沿海有一座酷似汉堡的超级建筑。
In the waters off Nantong, Jiangsu, there's a huge circular building that stands alone in the sea. From a dome's perspective, it looks eerie, just a rusty, unfinished structure with no signs of life. The building has been abandoned for years. It was supposed to become a luxurious 5-star hotel at sea, but now it's just surrounded by endless water. Some people online joke that it's the perfect place to go fishing, but no one really knows why the project was left unfinished.
In Guiyang, there's another massive construction project called the Future Arc World Trade Center. It was once promoted as a top-tier landmark and was said to cost around 60 billion yuan. The project began over 10 years ago and has never fully opened. Now it's known online as Guiyang's most famous unfinished skyscraper. The World Trade Center complex sits next to the Nanming River and covers more than 170,000 square meters. It has 5 high-rise buildings. One of them is over 300 meters tall, with more than 70 floors. Inside, there were plans for a 5-star hotel, top-grade office towers, luxury apartments, and a major shopping center. The developer, Zhongtian Urban Investment Group, teamed up with China Construction's 4th Engineering Bureau to build it. It was supposed to open for sales in 2017 and hand over units by the end of 2020. In fact, it was even listed as a major industrial project in Guizhou province that year. But by 2021, everything had come to a halt. The steel structures are now badly rusted. Across China, cities have been competing to build the tallest skyscraper. The Shanghai Tower, which stands 632 meters tall, became the country's tallest building when it was completed in 2016. But for years, news reports have constantly featured new plans to build super tall towers. Back in 2011, A company in Changsha called Broad Group claimed that they would build an 838-meter-tall skyscraper in just 90 days. They called it Sky City. The project was supposed to start in 2013, but experts raised serious concerns about the lack of scientific evidence whether it was even technically possible. Eventually, the project was indefinitely postponed. By 2016, the foundation pit had turned into a fish pond. The Shimao Shenzhen Hong Kong International Center now stands silent. The steel and concrete are exposed, and the tower cranes are rusting. This skyscraper was once supposed to symbolize cooperation between Guangdong and Hong Kong. It was planned as a world-class landmark for Shenzhen. Originally, the building was going to be over 700 meters tall, which would have made it the tallest building in China. Later, the plan was adjusted to around 668 meters, but even then, it still would have taken the top spot. Construction began in 2018, but the project couldn't escape its fate. In 2022, the developer Shimao Group faced a major debt crisis, and work came to a stop. By 2023, the project was put up for auction at a starting price of over 13 billion yuan. More than 30,000 people viewed the listing online, but in the end, no one was willing to buy. One TikToker posted a video describing how this dream project became nothing but a giant pit.
在2017年的时候，以239亿的价格
Back in 2017, Shimao bought the land for 23.9 billion yuan, which set a record for the second highest land price in Shenzhen's history. But less than 3 years after construction started, the developer ran out of money and the project stalled. It's now been sitting unfinished for 5 years. The property has been put up for auction multiple times, but no one has dared to take it over. In 2022, CITIC Trust took Shimao to court, demanding the forced seizure of the Shenzhen Hong Kong International Center, which was worth nearly 9 billion yuan in assets. At that time, one part of the project, an apartment tower, had already been built up to the 20th floor, but since the developer couldn't pay the construction fees, they had no choice but to halt the work, and from that point on, the whole project became just another unfinished skyscraper. I'm standing here at what was supposed to be Phase 1. Even though the apartments didn't meet the promised conditions, many homeowners compromised and moved in anyway. Back then, units were selling for 51,000 yuan per square meter. Some people spent over 10 million yuan on a single apartment. In just 5 years, they went from being wealthy homeowners to people buried in debt. To me, this is more than just an abandoned project. It's a story of youth drained by capital. The developer used hundreds of billions in leverage, but did they ever think about how many families' futures were at stake? Before we talk about building national landmarks, shouldn't we be protecting ordinary people's wallets?
Right now, most of these unfinished skyscrapers are in second- and third-tier cities. Aside from their height, they all have similar features and price tags. Nearly all of them promise a mix of ultra-luxury 5-star hotels, international-grade office towers, upscale apartments, and huge shopping malls. Their floor area reach into the millions of square meters, and total investments are often in the tens of billions. Even the advertising is the same, calling them the city's new landmark or symbol of urban development. Skyscrapers take a long time to build, which makes them very vulnerable to changes in the economy. If the money runs out during construction, the entire project can be delayed or even abandoned. In many cases, local officials invest huge amounts of money into these buildings, hoping to create symbols of urban progress. But in the end, they often become flashy, empty wastes of resources. Take the Tianjin 117 Tower, for example, also called the Golden Finance 117 Tower. It's located in Xiqing District, Tianjin. The tower was designed to reach about 597 meters high, with a total investment of 18 billion yuan. Construction began in September 2008. By September 2015, the main structure had been topped off. But after that, the project faced long delays. It stopped, restarted, and stopped again. The project went through ownership changes and financial problems. Eventually, it was left unfinished. Then, in mid-April this year, reports said the tower had received new construction permits and was planning to resume work. According to Chinese media, the new permit gives approval for construction to start at the end of April, with a goal to finish in 2 years. In late May, someone filmed workers removing an abandoned scaffold on the northeast side of the tower. They also saw glass curtain walls being installed on the 40th floor, next to the tower's elevator shaft. But even with this announcement, many people in the industry are still skeptical. Reporters noted that there were a few trucks moving in and out of the site, and some activity with the construction elevator, but no large-scale work could be heard. Since this project has been sitting for so long, many are concerned about rusted materials, aging parts, safety issues, and whether there's enough funding to complete it. It's still uncertain whether this massive building will ever be finished. While many of these failed skyscraper projects are backed by local governments and meant to show off political achievements, there are also cases where private buildings are torn down by authorities. Recently, in the Chaoshan district of Guangdong, a traditional-style luxury mansion complex called Yizhiyuan was demolished overnight. It had become a local landmark. On May 28th, authorities tore down the 9-acre compound in Shantou, claiming it was built illegally. Local villagers said dozens of excavators arrived in the middle of the night on May 27th. Before dawn on the 28th, they were already working. By sunrise, most of the buildings had been completely torn down. Aerial footage showed that Yingzhiyuan was almost completely destroyed. Many people online expressed shock, asking why such a well-constructed and culturally rich site had to be demolished, while so many poorly built, unfinished skyscrapers are still left standing. On May 9th, the Chaoyang district government in Shantou, Guangdong province, issued a public notice stating that Yingzhiyuan was considered an illegal construction. The notice ordered it to be torn down within 45 days. If the demolition wasn't completed on time, the government said it would carry out forced demolition. The estate was built by a local resident named Cheng Yingbiao and had more than 10 buildings. Online sources say Yingzhiyuan had been in the works since 2013. It was reportedly funded by the three Chen brothers from the area, with an estimated investment of nearly 1 billion yuan. Videos shared online show that Yingzhiyuan featured architecture unique to the Chaoshan area. The complex included 4 buildings modeled after traditional Beijing-style courtyard homes and 11 European-style villas. The entire property was richly decorated, with elegant carvings and classical Chinese-style beams and rooftops. It was stunning. The forced demolition of such a beautifully designed estate has triggered widespread criticism online. Many people asked, "This wasn't built in a day. Where were the authorities when it was being constructed?" Others said, "It could have been turned into a tourist attraction. Tearing it down is such a waste." One comment read, "Even turning it into a ticketed heritage site would be better than destroying it." Independent commentator Du Zheng called it a sad joke under authoritarian rule. He said this reflects how the Chinese Communist Party operates. Because it is not democratically elected, it doesn't care about public opinion. In his words, the system is essentially run by people who came to power through thuggish means. Meanwhile, China's property market has been struggling in recent years. Beyond commercial real estate, many residential projects have been left unfinished. Since these affect people's homes, they've led to repeated protests from homeowners demanding answers. One such case involves hundreds of employees from China National Petroleum Corporation, CNPC. They bought apartments in bulk through their employers over a decade ago. Now they've been waiting 9 years for their homes. Back in 2013, employees from the Changqing Transport Division of CNPC's natural gas transportation company signed up to buy apartments in a residential project called Zhengguan Shoufu, located in Xi'an's economic development zone. The developer was Shanxi Gaohong Real Estate Company. The homes are supposed to be handed over by May 2016, but construction stalled, and nothing has moved forward since. Ms. Zhang, whose husband works at Changqing Transport, told the media that the company signed a group buying agreement with the developer in November 2013. She bought an apartment for 46,000 yuan per unit, about 5,500 yuan per square meter. In total, over 400 CNPC employees participated in the group purchase. Many of them came from other provinces like Ningxia, Gansu, and Sichuan. Together, they paid more than 100 million yuan for their homes. Since 2016, when construction first stalled, the homeowners had been protesting and petitioning. The project briefly resumed at one point, but stopped again due to financial problems. To this day, none of the homeowners have received their homes, and they can't get their money back either. They're left with no options. On May 22nd, a TikToker posted a video showing an unfinished project in Jinglong City, Guangdong. He asked whether these kinds of buildings were even livable, and said any attempt to restart construction just seemed like officials were doing it for show. On May 25th, another blogger complained about a similar case in Zhumadian, Henan province. He stood in front of a half-built Jiahe New City complex and said, "Is this what the government means by its promise to deliver homes?" He pointed to the empty construction site and asked, "Where are the workers the officials keep talking about?" On May 27th, in Zhumadian, again, homeowners from the unfinished Evergrande Yufu development blocked the road in protest. They shouted,
"Heartless developer, give us back our homes. Give us back our hard-earned money."
Just days earlier, on May 24th, homeowners from another Evergrande Yufu project in Xingtai, Hebei, went to the local petition office, seeking help from the authorities. On May 26th, in Hengyang, Hunan province, things escalated. Homeowners from a project called Platinum Era found that the government had secretly diverted their escrow funds, the money meant to ensure the building would be completed. They had no idea the money was gone until it was too late. Construction had been stalled for years, and no one is taking responsibility. One homeowner said in frustration, "I just want to go home. We're not even at war, and I still can't go home." In recent years, more and more people online have been sharing photos and videos of China's unfinished construction projects, both inside the city and overseas. But Li Jun, a real estate agent in Toronto, Canada, recently wrote that Toronto had also gone through a booming real estate period lasting over 30 years, and yet there isn't a single abandoned building anywhere in the Greater Toronto area. Even if a building is delayed for some reason, Li said, it usually gets picked up quickly, resumed, and completed on schedule with a smooth handover to buyers. He explained why Canada has been able to avoid the kind of collapse seen in China's property market. In his view, it's because of several key differences. In China, land ownership is unclear, information is not transparent, and local governments often chase GDP blindly. But in Canada, land is privately owned. That not only helps prevent unfinished buildings, but also creates opportunities to repurpose unused rural land. He said this land could be turned into modern agricultural areas and give jobless college graduates a new path forward. Chinese affairs expert Yue Shan said that if you look at the bigger picture of unfinished projects, they've all appeared mostly in the last 10 years. That timeline matches when Xi Jinping came to power. Since then, China has taken a political turn to the left, and its economy has been slowing down. Yue warned that if things keep going this way, the Chinese economy could sink back to the level of the 1990s. That means more and more unfinished buildings are likely to appear, and even the ones restarting now may never be finished. In his opinion, smart investors are staying away from China. He also argued that the root of the problem lies in China's communist ideology. According to Yue, because the Chinese Communist Party won't allow private land ownership, the system itself is unable to fix the issue of abandoned projects. He believes that only if the Communist Party steps down and true private ownership is allowed can China solve its unfinished building crisis.